And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined today by Mr. Gregoire Boisbelaud. Is that correct? Right? I've pronounced it right?
It's perfect. Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Sweet, sweet. So my, 1 year of French in college paid off. So Gregoire, you are the managing director of Dust USA, right?
I am. Yeah.
Nice, nice. So I want to start off with the basic question of how did Dust 1947 become a thing, especially like in the U.S.?
The whole story.
Yeah.
Uh, the whole story started more than 10 years ago. Paolo was creating a comic book, actually called Dust,
Mm.
uh, that was really, to be honest, completely adult oriented, and was set up in a weird World War setting. And he created the characters, some units already at that time. And he was also working on a range of miniatures that were absolutely not the same size. They were way bigger. It was 1/35th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and they were really highly detailed. They were really model kits. So he was doing that. He published actually the I think 2 issues of the comic book with Image Comics at that time. And then he started to create the game when he left Rackham, when they were closing, and he really launched his own game that was Dust Tactics. And Paolo always wanted to have a game that was fast-paced, fun to play in this universe, and that wouldn't need any tape measure or these kind of things. So that's the reason why the board had boxes and these kind of things. And he asked Olivier Zamfirescu, which is who was actually a former Rackham employee and a friend of Paolo's,
Hmm.
to create the rules. So that was 10 years ago, exactly. In
Nice. Okay. So starting, 10 years ago, it started off. It was in Europe, right?
It started actually. The first release of Dust was not in Europe. It was in the US because they signed an agreement with the FFG to release the game. So the game was really, really American based at first. So,
Sweet. Okay. Now, when it first started off, you had the three basic factions. So you have the Axis, and then the Allies, and then they also did the SSU. Can you tell us a little bit about the three main factions?
at the very beginning, the game only had two: the Axis and the Allies. Then the SSU came in because it was already part of the universe, where basically the Soviets decided to secede from the Great Alliance against the Axis because they felt betrayed by the Allies.
Mm.
So, but the three factions are really based on historical divisions at that time. The Axis being this alliance between Germany, Italy, Japan, and all the countries that were allies with them. The Allies are led by the USA, but you have the English forces, you have some free French forces, uh, among others, of course.
Hmm.
And then you have the SSU, that is the Sino-Soviet Union. So it's a mouthful. That's the reason why it becomes SSU all the time. But it really sums up the alliance between China and Russia, and I should say USSR actually, uh, in a big conglomerate of countries. So that
Nice.
is,
That's very cool. Very cool. Then you also have the mercenary faction, right?
yes. Inside each block we have factions, because even inside the same block, each faction has their own agenda. And then you have the Mercs. The Mercs were created by the Neutral Nation Organization, the NNO, because basically they analyzed that the war would never end, uh, and they needed to either profit from it or end it by destroying absolutely everyone from the inside.
Wow.
So, yeah,
That's cool. That's cool. So all of the mercenaries can be played for every faction.
exactly. They play with any faction or they play by themselves.
Huh, that's very cool. So we the roots of Dust is very cool. How did it go from Fantasy Flight Games and away from there, basically?
Oh, the marketing part of it.
Mm.
The game was sold several years by FFG, and then it went to Battlefront. And then in 2014, we separated from Battlefront and decided to go by ourselves. So in 2015, we attended the Gamma trade show, and we went really just to announce to people, that we were going by ourselves. And the answer from retailers and even the press was kind of overwhelming and really positive. So Paolo asked Alicia, my wife, and me if we would be interested in setting up a distribution company for Dust in the US, and that's how we created Dust USA. Actually, 2015, in 2016. Sorry, not 15.
Okay,
So
cool.
it was, yeah.
So Dust USA is a branch of the overall Dust 1947 brand?
It's actually an independent company with three partners: Alicia, me, and Paolo.
Hmm.
So we are buying the products from the studio and distributing them in the US and Canada, I should say.
Very cool, very cool. Now,
Yeah.
you and I are actually pretty close. I'm in Cincinnati right now, and you're up in Findlay, right?
Yes, 2 hours and a
Nice.
half away.
Yeah, yeah, but Ohio is a perfect central location for distribution. It's great.
It
It's
is.
awesome.
It is. It's a
So,
fun
what
state.
makes Dust special amongst the different war games?
Historically, it was one of the first Weird World War settings. Uh, Product-wise, we have probably right now the best miniatures in the market, the best plastic miniatures. I need to add, at the request of Paolo, right after Games Workshop, because we really have really talented people and really experienced people at the production in China. And game-wise, we are the only game that can be played both on a grid or without a grid. And we have this really scalable game, scalable in size because you can play from the starter set, which is something around 25 points, to massive battles of 250 points. So 10 times the quantity, basically,
Wow.
on the same mat or the same table. But it's also scalable in difficulty, and the rules are written in a way that you can really progress learning them, starting with the very fundamentals of movement and shooting and attacking, I should say, and then go to advanced rules about weather, campaign, special abilities, terrain, these kind of things. So it's really a game that is meant to be playable by everyone, whatever your experience with miniature games before.
Yeah, I was actually able to introduce. I think I've introduced 6 different people to wargaming based on it. The one thing that draws people in is you just, put out the grid. You stick all the units inside each box, so they don't have to worry about unit coherency. In Warhammer, you have to have units 2 inches from each other, or individual models 2 inches from each other. In this one, you just scoot them all into the next grid, or you like pre-draw out how you're gonna move. So like I'll tell them, put your finger like 2 blocks forward, and that's 2 movement forward. Versus draw exactly 10 inches and don't move more than 10 inches because that would be, not it would be against the game or whatever.
Yeah,
And it really, really helps people get into the game a lot.
yeah. The game is really meant for that. It's meant to have the same kind of fun that you have with every miniature game because they're all good, but it removes the whole negative play experience that other games may have when you have measurements that obviously induce, problems with do I see you, don't I see you, or am I really in range or not in range, this kind of thing. So yeah, you can remove that immediately just by playing on the grid. So it makes it really, really accessible to everyone.
For sure, I know that a lot of times, I'm playing any other war game, and if you're even a hair out of range, it destroys your entire plan. Whereas for a fact that if you're 6 grids away and your range is 6, then you can go ahead and shoot them. And that just makes things so smooth, I think.
It's
That's why
it's
games can be played in 15, 20 minutes. If they're the smaller scale,
oh yeah,
250
yeah.
points, I don't think you could play in 15, 20 minutes. But for the starter sets, you could easily play that in 15.
Oh yeah, no problem. We actually do demos during conventions, and the demos last 15 minutes with the explanation of the rules. So it can really be fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, one of our patriots organized during Origins last year a tournament on our booth. So we had one table and we had 12 players, and they were rotating and playing
Wow.
only starter sets. and the games would last 5-10 minutes maximum, so no one was waiting a long time.
Hmm.
And we had a tournament like that with a Swiss round, 3 rounds. I mean, it was kind of fantastic, to be honest.
That's very
And
cool.
yeah, and we can do that because the game is really fast paced and really accessible to everyone. I mean, that's the only game that my wife, the only miniature game that my wife will play. So that says a lot. Every time I try to make her play any other games that I was playing, she was like, nope, 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 nope. Um,
Interesting, huh? So for those who are interested in getting people into wargaming, it's a everyone knows the term gateway games from board gaming. You have Settlers of Catan, several of the other of those kind of classic games that get people into it. But
mhm.
this could be considered a phenomenal gateway game for wargaming.
It can be used this way, yes. And really, it's a game that you can grow up with in your experience of miniature board games, because you can really take it as simple as it comes, or you can really make it more fleshed out and more complex, and have even more strategy added to it. So yeah, I think it could be a good gateway game, which is to me a nice marketing feature, but
For sure. Well, it's
it's
great that you mentioned that it can be more advanced because ultimately people like things that can become, I guess the term is chunky, where you can really take bites out of it as you
yes.
develop. So Warhammer, right off the bat, is very complicated in many ways. They try to simplify it with Eighth, but now you have the codexes, which brought the complication kind of back quite a bit.
Yeah.
But with this one, you have the unit special abilities on the cards.
Yes, the way the game is made, Dust, you don't have to buy anything but the miniatures. That's the idea behind it. Okay, you start with a starter set, and with two starter sets, you have your tournament legal table, and then you just buy other miniatures to renew the interest of the game, or change your strategies,
Mm.
but you don't have to buy the books or anything else. The book is a nice add-on. Obviously, we sell it, and we sell it really well, so it's obviously nice. You have tokens that are given with it, so obviously it's another nice tool to enhance your gaming experience. But the idea is that really you buy the box and you play right out of the box. It's really the main principle of the game. That's what Paolo wanted since the beginning. That's the reason why the miniatures are put together and primed. That way you don't even have to paint them if you don't want to.
Right. But what's cool is that you offer the three different types, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
You have model kits that are really on sprues or in bags, depending on the quality of plastic that we use for the miniature. Then you have the primed version, which is the main one, where it's already put together, primed, and you even have some decals or these kind of things. And then you have the last version that is the premium, and premium is really completely painted at a level that no one in the industry does right now.
Yeah, I've seen some videos on YouTube when I was looking up when I was first wanting to get into the game, and I
Mhm.
saw some videos and it was amazing the quality of the premium. Do you guys hire that out to subcontractors?
Absolutely not. It's made in-house. We have 12 painters, and the fun fact is that we have 12 women painting.
Wow.
They are trained by our master painter, Vincent Fontaine, who was the head painter at Rackham back in the days and became a partner of Dust Studio. And they are trained and they do that every day, all day long. So
Wow, that's cool. Now, does that you have to order that and then they paint it?
no, no, no. Actually, you buy it already painted in the box. So we have a limited stock of boxes that are already premium. So really, you buy it. You buy the box in your retailer. You actually at Giga-Byte right now. You have the army box for the Mythos that is actually available in premium.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
so if you're not the type that needs or wants to hobby, right? So if you
Mhm.
want to go ahead and play the game and have the miniatures, then you can buy the premium. Don't have to get the other two. This is one right here. Oh, you have your eyeball there. Yes, if you're looking at his eyeball, it's because the Skype sometimes is weird with the cameras.
Yeah.
So sometimes it cuts off the camera feeds for some reason. I don't know, technology. But this one is the primed version already assembled. So all you have to do is paint on it. It's beautiful. Um, I was literally able to fully paint 5 Sturm Grenadiers. Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're back.
Skype is really weird with me. So
Yeah, it does weird. So then these guys, I was able to paint this in probably 20 total minutes per model, I guess, which comes down from the base coat, the washes, the detailing, and the highlights and all that.
Mm.
20 minutes per model, which is really, really fast. Because normally half the time I have, like, over there I've got like 60 Chaos Cultists who are just waiting to be primed, but it's raining right now, so I can't do that. This one I just was able to pull out of the box and immediately start painting. It's great.
Yeah, if you want to really go quick and dirty, most of the time you will have to do the flesh, the metal of the weapons, and you're done.
Hmm.
And then you're gonna put a wash on it. And I'm a huge fan of the army painter washes.
Yes.
And really you use that and it's done. You can paint a whole army in 2 days if you're really in a rush for a tournament. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I know for these chaos ones, especially with the chaos chosen, they're very detailed models,
yeah,
and me having to prime them and then going, I do the chaos black primer, so having the primer
well,
in the army color is huge. It's awesome.
yes, it helps. It helps. I
Absolutely.
know that some people are sometimes a little surprised. For example, for the mythos again, we prime them in purple,
Hmm.
and people are surprised, but it's actually the base color that our master painter used to do what we did. So that's the reason why we go with that. So
No, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, you can ultimately, because it's primed, you can ultimately paint it in whatever color you want. But it's
yes,
neat that, if I don't have, like, I literally bought the game and then played it 5 minutes after opening it.
yes,
And I didn't have to assemble anything. I just opened it up, pulled the minis out, and then put them on the table. It was beautiful.
yeah, that's really the principle of the game. We wanted something fast-paced, playable right out of the box, really different from the other hobby experience.
Right, right. So when people are looking to get into the game, what's some ways that you suggest when they're looking for an army to play, etc.? What are some ways that they can find out what army they want to play?
The best way to do it, go to your retailer and look at their shelves.
Hmm.
Basically, you're going to start with the starter set always. That's the best bang for your buck. You will have one unit, one hero, one vehicle. You will have the mats, the dice, the 2D and 3D scenery, the rules. You have everything you need to start. We have right now 8 starter sets. We're going to have 2 more this year. One for the Desert Scorpions and one for the Japanese Imperial Navy. And then, if you're interested in the background and the fluff of the game to choose what is your faction, the rule book is going to be a good hint for you. We also have a lot of text everywhere in our previous rule books or previous campaign books. The Condor campaign book, for example, explains the Luftwaffe really in length, so you know where you're going to with that, and you have an explanation of all the units and all the heroes. So it's really convenient, and we're going to do that again for other campaign books. So,
Nice,
yeah.
because the latest one is Zerograd, right?
No. The latest campaign book that we released was Condor, Operation Condor.
Oh, okay. Right, right.
Zero was actually the first one. It was the first era of Dust. It was in a winter setting, winter and snow setting. So you had Antarctica, Zverograd, Cerberus, which was the northern Europe, and now we had Babylon, which is in the desert between Iraq and Iran.
Mm.
And then now you have Condor, which is in the same area, but it's a very specific campaign where the Blutkreuz, the mad scientist faction of the Axis, is actually asking the Luftwaffe to go explore some very specific sites in the desert, guarded by the French Foreign Legion. And these sites are actually sites where strange occurrence happened. One of them being the appearance of very strange monsters that look like giant bats with a very fat tummy and a head like an octopus. So
Oh boy.
it's one of the two appearances of the mythos. You will have Condor, and you will have Operation Hellgate, that is going to explain also that it appeared in a very nice island in the middle of the Pacific that was discovered by the Japanese Imperial Navy.
Hmm. That's really
And
cool.
that will also justify why the Japanese Imperial Navy uses a lot of robots in their army.
Huh. I'm very excited about that. So if you can explain to us a little bit about the new army coming out.
So the new armies that are scheduled after releasing a little bit more of the PLA and the Desert Scorpion, which were the two armies that we released this year, are going to be the Japanese Imperial Navy and the Vril. So for the Japanese Imperial Navy, they are part of the Axis, part of Japan in general, but they have discovered on the Nemo Point in the middle of the Pacific this island that was not on any chart. And when they went there, they awakened something and they opened a portal to something else. And now they have to, during the war, they had to muster their defenses because they were attacked constantly through this Hellgate. And so their new army is going to be based on four different aspects. First is the regular infantry, normal. Then they're going to have ninjas. They're going to have the cadets, which people mistake really often for schoolgirls, but it's because the uniform of the Japanese schoolgirls is actually adapted from the Imperial Navy cadets.
Interesting. Okay.
So, and then you're going to have the robots. So the robots are really autonomous units. They are not manned by humans, like, for example, the Steel Guard for the SSU, which have a pilot inside the exoskeleton, I should say, the cockpit. There, the robots are completely autonomous, and their mechas are going to be also robots and really, really Japanese style. And they are going to have some features that makes them look like Transformers. Because some of them can turn into boats.
What?
Obviously. Yeah. So we are working on that. They won't transform, obviously, but they will have features that can modify them into a boat. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. So that's the reason why it takes a long time to release them. That and the fact that we are also working on hard plastic, which has always been a wish of Paolo, that our vehicles are already in hard plastic, but the units are in PVC, so which is this softer plastic. And we have started to release some hard plastic progressively. For example, the spears that the two heroes of the PLA starter set are carrying, the Dragon and the Phoenix, are made in hard plastic so that they don't bend. And we're going to do that for all our infantry progressively. The whole starter set for the Desert Scorpions, for example, has been delayed because of that, because it's going to be released in hard plastic also.
Oh, that's great. No, I love it. Yeah.
So there's going to be an increase of the quality of the products. So.
Right. So besides the releasing of the new armies, which I'm really looking forward, I'm definitely going to get the Japanese Transformer boats. Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yeah. They're also going to have some very big mechas, like really tall, taller than usual, this kind of thing. So it's really going to be not only a different gameplay like we introduced with the new armies, but also a different game design and product design. So it's going to be really interesting to see. And then the latest faction that we're working on are the Vril. The Vril are the aliens by which everything started. The VK, this weird source of energy that everyone is fighting about, and that powers all the walkers in the universe of Dust, and the special weapons like lasers, phasers, and Tesla weapons. The VK is actually the Vril culture, which is how the Germans named it. And it comes from this alliance of alien races called the Vril, of which one pilot crashed in Antarctica in 1938. And when the Germans captured the pilot, he started talking. And he told them that they have done something that cannot be forgiven. They have awakened the Great Old Ones. And the Vrils and the Great Old Ones are sworn enemies. And the Vrils that are these kind of super guardians of the galaxy, this kind of Nova Corps of Dust, have for mission to destroy every world that has been corrupted. So they come and they want to destroy everyone. And actually, the Germans, the Axis, is fighting everyone because they're trying to convince them that the bad guys are coming.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it's really a fun background, and the reels are going to be really this alien stuff. You're going to have a little bit of everything. It gets its inspiration in, I would say, the classic sci-fi, but also it has some modern sci-fi hints to it. It's going to be really interesting, like really, really. So I cannot
That's
say
cool.
much about it right now because we're still it's still really the very beginning of a work in progress, but it's for the moment it's kind of tempting, honestly, when you're on the inside. So
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
yeah,
So I know at Giga-Bites we definitely have our Slow Grow League as well as events that are hosted by Mr. Jim Godine.
yeah,
And I know that he's a huge champion for us at Giga-Bites.
yes.
He does really awesome work. What kind of things can we look forward to in terms, not just in armies, but other things like other books or anything like that, other related material to the Dust universe?
Well, since we're talking about organized play,
Hmm.
we are working right now. We, as a company, we work really closely with our patriots. To patriots being our volunteers that show the game in stores or in clubs, and we are really involved with them to create new content. So right now, for example, we have this online campaign, the Endless War, where we propose new scenarios every 2 weeks. So that people can play and refresh a little bit their gameplay, have new challenges. You know, the scenarios are not necessarily balanced. They're not necessarily, tournament scenarios. Sometimes they will ask you to play a very specific unit in order to complete the scenario or these kind of things. So we have that. The Slow Grow League that you are actually starting at Gigabyte is actually has actually been created by Jim and Raymond, who's also part of your community. And we are actually we tested it a little bit internally, and now you are actually the first store in the US, and I should say in the world, to try this new set of rules for the Slow Grow League. So we're really excited about it. We're going to have a new tournament packet, which is going to help people organize their own tournaments because we know that people like it, like the competitiveness of tournaments also. So it's going to tell you how to organize stuff, how to manage the people and the scenarios and the ranking, all these kind of things. Give you options also to do it, to personalize your experience of tournament so that you not every tournament look alike. It will also give the basic rules for the campaign settings that we're going to have because we have these campaign days called Dust Days where you come and instead of playing in order to win personally, you try to win for your faction, for your block.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
it's heavily scenarized. You have a setting that is fixed, and you play on maps that are sometimes bonkers because sometimes it's going to be in the sewers, sometimes it's going to be in the no man's land with one tree in the middle. You will have to adapt and adjust depending on the game, and you can play at any level of point that you want, which
That's
allow everyone to come. You can play with your starter set and play 7 or 8 games in an afternoon, or you can come with 300 points of army and play 2 games. That's your choice.
that is
And
really really cool.
you use common resources, so you calculate the point pool for the whole faction depending on the number of players that you have, and every time they lose this amount of points that they played. So if you chose to play 25 points, your faction just lost 25 points of resources. If you chose to play 300, you just made your faction lose 300 points.
Interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really easy to set up, and that really allows everyone to play at the same time and share the same pleasure of the experience at the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
this is for the organized play. Product wise, we have Operation Hellgate that is going to be released for Gen Con, so a new campaign book. Right now, as we are working on it, it promises to be a little thicker than Condor because we're going to have new options for everyone. So new platoons, new units, new everything, new scenarios, and of course the explanation of why the mythos appears right now in 1947, even though they were here before, and what launches this new onslaught of really evil creatures and really fanatical cultists on the world. So it's gonna be quite fun. It's
That's
gonna be
awesome.
yeah, it's gonna be a good book. We're really excited about it.
Yeah.
So
So when people are looking to build out their forces, you just released the iOS version of the app, right?
yes, indeed, the Android version has been released in September, and the process on the App Store is horrible. So it took us a long, long time to be approved, and we finally got approved. So yeah, the iOS version has been released yesterday,
This one
and
is the Android version I'm showing
mhm.
on my screen right here. It's very cool. So
So it's
when you and this is it's the same in both, right?
yeah, it's exactly the same. It's compatible with both systems. It's going to be updated on both systems at the same time, so there's no problem with that. It's really an app that allows you to do everything you can do when you're not playing. So you can manage your collection, you can build your own armies, you can choose to build them from scratch and say, oh, I really want to play these units, add your units, and the app will tell you if you have a platoon that is eligible or not. Or you can build from a platoon and it will fill up automatically the units that you should have in this platoon. You can really build by faction, by block. It will give you the faction bonus if you're eligible to it. It's really an app that really helps you build your armies faster and without mistakes.
And that's
So
huge. There are platoons, right?
yes,
Can you
uh,
describe a little bit about what those are?
so when you build your army, you can build your army just by adding everything that you have or that you like. Okay, heroes, units, vehicles. There's no real rule of building an army in Dust. You can choose to build your 100-point armies with absolutely no hero or only with heroes. There's no limit.
Hmm.
You can play with infantry and mixed with vehicles and aircraft, or you can say, you know what, for this scenario we play without vehicles or infantry without that. Really, there's no rule. Platoons are additional rules. As I said, the game is layered so that you can really add the level of complexity that you want. It's an additional rule that tells you as long as you play these units and then any other unit that you want, the platoon is chosen and it brings you a bonus in game. So sometimes the platoon will tell you, for example, if you play the starter set of Diver, so the Bushmaster, Diver, and a unit of Close Assault Squad from the USMC, all your infantry and all your level 2 vehicles will be Brave, which they are not by default. So suddenly they are not as fragile when it comes to suppression, which is a game mechanism of the game. So sometimes you will have a platoon that tells you if you play only gorillas, for example, the leader of the gorillas, Marcus, can have an officer action as if he was an officer.
Hmm.
So it really depends, and you can play several platoons in your list. It's just that one same unit cannot be part of several platoons. So you will have to tell this unit is part of that platoon. So you cannot accumulate the bonuses on the same unit.
Hmm. No, that makes sense. And in the app, it works really, really well. So you have, I'm showing you this again. You've got a commands there, and then you've got like combat, and the combat ones, it'll show you exactly the type that you can put in there.
Yep.
And on this one, I actually have it's a Tesla gun, which I'm intending to purchase because it looks really cool. It's basically a sort of an emplacement, and
Uh-huh.
then you actually have your secondary combat ones are your like gun squads, battle squads, anti-tank squads, etc. And then you actually in the app you can show what you own and you can pull from the units that you own. So on here, you've got your units, and then when you click that, you pick the faction. So I, for instance, bought the two-player starter set, which has SSU and Axis, and then it'll show me in the list of all the ones that I can do. I'll scroll down to where it shows my, I guess, anti-tank squad. If I can see it on here, it's easier than my screen. And it shows that I actually own one of them. There we go. It shows a little crown. It says ×1. And then when I click that, I can add more. And then you say if it's primed, painted, etc. So you can actually look up your fully painted models if you're wanting to do like a fully painted tournament. And you just
Mhm.
literally can create your own list and call it fully painted tournament list. Super easy.
Yep.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, the guy who developed it, Anton, a very close friend of mine, really did a great job last summer doing that. It took him 3 months, but that was worth it.
Absolutely, and it helps also because I was looking through, I was thinking, what do I want to build out for my army? Because with the platoons, you get these nice small bonuses, and then as soon as I saw that storm wall platoon, it basically gives you, you basically get stuck in, I guess. Lots of infantry, lots of barricades, not barricades, fortifications, lots of
Yeah.
fortifications, and I thought, okay, I can definitely work on that now. I can order the things from Giga-Bites that I want to get for my other units.
Yep. Yep.
It's very cool. Cool.
It's,
So we've been not talking like this for over half an hour now. Is there anything else you want to talk to people about in terms of getting into dust, etc.?
off the top of my head, no, not really. But we're really excited about what's going to happen in a following month. It's going to be a very big year for Dust.
Hmm.
Lots of new releases. We're gonna rehaul. We're gonna actually make available again some products that were out of stock for a while.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, it's gonna be really nice for people who have old collections that they want to complete, or if they want some winter uniforms or this kind of things. It's gonna be really convenient. So it's gonna be a good year. We're really excited about it. So
Yeah, and at Gigabytes we have, I want to say, over a dozen players for our Slow Grow League, which
yeah.
is really great. One person asked, let's go to some of the questions. Jim
Mhm.
says, Dust needs Godzilla and dinosaurs from Hollow Earth.
Yeah, the Hollow Earth myth is something that we thought about. It's not a priority.
Hmm.
It. I'm not saying that it's not going to appear because I know that Paolo and Olivier worked on dinosaurs, but I don't think it's something that is going to appear in the following month. I mean, up until 2019, I'm sure that it won't. So
Ian Hunter asks, what happens when people play against the same faction? For example, Axis versus Axis.
that doesn't change anything. As I said, each faction has their own agenda.
Hmm.
And even inside the faction, for example, in the Blutkreuts, you have two heroes that have been historically really important for the Blutkreuts. Sigrid, which is the ultimate leader of the faction, and Marcus, which is the leader of the gorillas. So the gorillas have been created by the Blutkreuts by putting human brains inside some gorillas and make them intelligent. So now they can man weapons, they can talk, they have strategies and these kind of things. They're not just super tankers. So these two characters, for example, are allies. Naturally, they are even part of the same faction.
Hmm.
So okay, but they have their own agenda, and no one knows it. But the secret of Marcus is that he wants all the gorillas to be free.
Huh.
So and it doesn't tell anyone in the Axis, but every time they give him more responsibilities to lead the gorillas and these kind of things, he actually builds up an army. It's really close to Planet of the Apes when you talk about the whole ape situation. It's really that. So Marcus has his own agenda, and yes, he will work with Sigrid, but beating the crap out of Sigrid is not a problem for him either. So
That's really cool. That's really cool.
yeah,
And then Kevin asks, will you make premium for all the paint schemes? So like Babylon for the Blitz Cruise.
we already do. For the moment, the only thing that we are not doing in premium for every scheme are the starter sets. The starter sets are only Babylon for production reasons because it takes us a lot of time to do premium, and that's the reason why it comes with a markup because it takes a lot of time, a lot of expertise, and we do it in a very limited quantity. So when it's out for several months before we can recreate it. So what's happening is that, for example, all our releases are released first in Babylon because this is right now it's our leading sale. So
Hmm.
that's what we do. But then we also have Cerberus, Zverograd, Condor, that is a brand new scheme that we are releasing right now. So we are releasing in several schemes the same unit. So it's just a matter of either pre-ordering it from Gigabyte, for example, or buying it when it's available. So.
Nice. We'll be on for a couple more minutes here. If anyone else has any other questions, go ahead and put them in so that we can answer them. John Galvin says, dinosaurs, make it part of mythos. You would have his unwavering support more than we already do, or you already do.
Okay. That's for the moment where Olivier and Paolo are. They are willing to make this faction. It really depends on how successful it is. And honestly, we released this faction. It was supposed to be a mini faction. We would release a very limited amount of releases, and just it was meant as a breathe space for Olivier in game design. Do something different, inside the same set of rules. And for Paolo, it was the occasion to do new drawings and imagine something new, something different. And it actually happens that the faction is really successful, like really successful, obviously. And so we are working on expanding it. So you have a lot of references that can be done through the mythos by itself. I mean, we have Migos that are coming. We have deep ones. We have avatars of every sizes. The avatar of Cthulhu, for example, is just insanely big.
Oh.
So yeah, we started the sculpting, and it's going to be. I mean, the avatar of Nyarlathotep is going to look skinny next to it, obviously, but it's also going to look a lot small. So really, it's something really big. So we're going to have several releases like that. But indeed, they thought about the whole, as I said, Hollow Earth myth, and yeah, they would be. If they would appear right now, they would appear inside the mythos. But it's something that we need to confirm before we do it, because we don't want to just pile up every single weird stuff inside one faction. So
Right, right. I'd be fine with them being separate. I think an entire Hollow Earth faction, even if you called it something else,
yeah, it really depends on how wide we can go with the faction. And also we have this industrial question, that is, we don't want to overload retailers with SKUs. We are actually reducing the number of SKUs right now, so that retailers can have a more manageable collection in their shop. We're going right now. We have 120 SKUs in Primed. We're going to shrink them to something above 60.
Okay. How does that look in terms of, can you still get the range of different units?
Oh, of course. You've actually started seeing it because we have released, for example, the new Allied Walkers that we released last month. It's a box with one chassis and 3 weapons options. So we're going to do that a lot. The new Desert Scorpion vehicles are like that. So yeah, we're gonna do that with all our vehicles, for example, progressively. So it's going to take quite a while, but by the end of the year, we should have done that. And it's really a matter for us to allow people to have more options right away, right out of the box. So since you don't need to glue the weapons, you just have to put them. They are plugged in automatically in the vehicle, so it's really easy to swap.
Okay.
So,
Roger from Sweden, he says, will you release tanks that's not dustified kits?
Yes, we have several tanks actually that are being worked on right now. We have the Tortoise, for example, that is a chassis that is really massive with a turret that doesn't turn. We have this one. We have a new amphibious tank for the SSU that is being worked on. What else? We have a new chassis for the Germans, but I don't remember. So yeah, we would have tanks, more tanks, different from the walkers. So really, with the caterpillars and these kind of things. Yes.
Sweet. Now, there's also you all make the conversion kits for other lines, I guess.
Yes, what we call the dustified kits are actually most of the time vehicles from another range, from another brand. We use a lot of Italeri or Tamiya kits, and we just add a weapon sprue or some details that make the vehicle really belonging in dust, and then we give it a card that is an official card. So you can really play this vehicle even in official tournaments.
That's really cool.
It is. It is. It's really a limited offer. It's more expensive most of the time. The profiles are not that great, but we have a following for that, of people that are really into Weird World War stuff and really want to enhance their armies with something that is flavorful, and close to the reality. So yeah, it's a nice offer. So
that's amazing. Sweet. Well, that's awesome. It was great talking to you, Gregoire. Lots of information we covered. So if you are joining us from even halfway through, go back and watch the replay on Facebook. We're also on YouTube. So if you look up Giga-Bites TV, it's all one word, Giga-Bites with an I TV. You can look up our channel, and then you'll be able to watch this video from the very beginning. You get to see Gregoire's eye when his camera went out. Thanks, Skype. We appreciate that, Skype. But we went over a whole lot of information, and so if you play Dust already, share this with a friend, share it with somebody who you think you could get them into the game. If someone likes Cthulhu, this is a great opportunity to get them into the game in general. If they just like World War II like I do, then it's a great opportunity to add mechs to it, which is awesome. So there's a little bit of something for everybody. It's not going to appeal to someone who doesn't like World War II at all. So if you have a friend and they don't like World War II, then that's maybe not the friend that wants to get into it. But people who are open to playing an awesome, fast-paced game, it's definitely something you can share with them. Like I said, at Giga-Bites, we are hosting the Slow Grow League as well as events constantly. And we have a Thursday. Every single Thursday, we have Dust players. So starting today, we'll have players playing at the store. Jim will be there starting, I think, around 5-ish. I believe Jim said earlier. So you'll have an opportunity to play tonight. If you want to, you can literally go to the store today, buy your starter set, open it up, put your pieces on the table, and start playing within 5 minutes. Not even. You could literally take 2 minutes and get your pieces out of the box and then start playing the game. And then you can learn the whole game within 15 minutes. So between getting your box to the register, buying your starter kit, and then placing the pieces down, you're off to the races. It's really, really great. I think for me, it's the huge ultimate gateway game for getting people into wargaming. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more products and more support from you guys, Gregoire. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see y'all next time. This is I'm Jon for Giga-Bites TV, and we'll see you at the store.